Hello everyone. Now we are going to study the topic mechanics. First of all, we will see what is mechanics, what are its types, why it is required, and all the important terms which are related to mechanics. Now, first, a very important question is what is engineering mechanics? Engineering mechanics is actually a subject which describes the effect of forces on rigid body, and these bodies might be in rest or in motion. Now let's say any object is there and a system of forces are being applied: inclined force, pull, push, gravitational force, normal reaction, friction force. A number of forces are acting on a body, and when we study this type of body, then it comes under the engineering mechanics. Now, what are the types of engineering mechanics? It is mainly having two categories. First is statics and dynamics. Then dynamics is subdivided into two parts: kinetics and kinematics. So first of all, we must say what is statics. Statics means a body at rest or in equilibrium, and dynamic means study of bodies in motion. As dynamic is having two subcategories. So first is kinetics. Kinetics means the study when the object is in motion independent of cause of motion. We are not considering the reason behind its motion. In this the relations are derived among motion, position, velocity, acceleration and time without considering the forces causing that motion. Kinetic is the study when motion and its causes are also considered. It actually deals with the action of forces and resulting motion. Now we will discuss few basic terms which are required to study the subject. First is matter. Matter is actually anything which occupy the space, or we can say the possesses mass and offer resistance to any external force. For example, iron, stone, anything, air, etc. But whatever the present thing is there, that is known as matter. Now the next important term is particle. What is particle? Particle is an object which has infinitely small volume but has mass which can be considered to be concentrated at a point. That is a particle. And the next one is body. Body actually has a definite shape and consists of number of particles. If I want to compare the matter, particle and body, I can say that if you talk about a home is a body. Its constituents like its bricks and sand, it is the matter with which we create the home. And the particle means if I go for a tiny particle of sand, that is known as actually the particle. If size and shape of body do not change, then it is called as rigid body, and if deformation occur, then called as elastic body, right? So the next important term is space. Now what is space? Actually space is a region which is extended in all directions and contain everything. In space, when we have to define the position of anything, we define the position with respect to a reference point or reference system. For example, if I say we have to define the position of this plane, then we say position of this plane with respect to earth, or any aircraft with respect to earth. Now the next term is time. Time is actually the measure of series of events. Whenever we have to measure a series of events, we measure with respect to time. Next is motion. When a body changes its position with respect to the other bodies, then it is said to be in motion, and it involves both space and time. Then next important term is trajectory. What is actually trajectory? It is the path followed by the body during its motion, and it may be straight or curved path. For example, this person, he has to reach to this girl, or to other place, to this girl, then he can follow this path or any this type of curve path. Whatever the path he has followed just to reach to its destination, that path is known as trajectory. Next is Newton's law. Everyone is knowing what are the Newton's law. If I talk about the first law of Newton, that state that every body continues in its state of rest or uniform motion in a straight line if there is no unbalanced force acting on it. Let's say we take an example of this ball. This ball is at rest position. It will remain in the same rest position until or unless we are applying the external force or we kick this ball. Then it will change its position. Then again it will remain continue in the same moving position until or unless it is being resisted by the air or just stopped by the net of goal. So this is the explanation of Newton's first law. Then Newton's second law states that the rate of change of linear momentum is directly proportional to the applied force, and it takes place in the direction of applied force. This law actually connects the rate of change of momentum with external force. For example, this wagon is there and this person has to pull this wagon. The force applied by this person will be directly proportional to the weight, whatever the weight this wagon is carrying. So this is the just simple explanation of Newton's second law. Now a well-known Newton's third law: to every action there is a equal and opposite reaction. Now just to lift this rocket, rocket propulsion rule is there, and it is just based on the Newton's third law. Now we will discuss these few important topics. First is the scalar quantity, then mass, force, weight, and tension, compression. Now first see the scalar and vector quantity. A quantity is said to be a scalar if it is completely defined by its magnitude only, right? Then it is known as scalar quantity. And for example, mass, length, volume, temperature, time, these are the scalar quantities. But when I talk about the vector quantities means all those quantities which possesses magnitude as well as direction also. For example, displacement, velocity, acceleration, force, momentum, all these are the vector quantities, and we represent the vector quantities with magnitude as well as direction also. Now the next important term is mass. Mass is the quantity of matter present within the system. More mass means more matter, and it is represented by m. Now the next term is force, and actually force is external agent which tends to change the speed or direction of a system. Force is applied to accelerate or deaccelerate a system. It produces the following effects like linear displacement, turning, rotating, moment, etc. It is represented by F, and we know F is equal to m into a mass into acceleration. The third term is weight. Weight is the actually force which a system exerts due to gravitational acceleration. It is actually a force with which it is get attracted towards the earth, and it is represented by W. Now there is a relation between mass and weight, and we can say the force also. If a person weighs 560 Newton on earth, now this is the what? This is the weight of a person, and if I take the same person to moon, its weight will reduce to 90 Newton. Now why the difference is because the value of G at moon gravitational pull is very less. So what is weight actually? This is the multiplication of mass into gravitational pull, right? So the person is having the same mass. So whenever in numericals they give you the mass, just convert it into weight to get the values of force. Now what is tension? Tension is actually related to push or pull type of forces. Now when we say tension, I have taken this example of rod. Let's say this is a rod, and when we apply a force towards its outer direction, means away from the center, then it is known as the object under tension. It tends to elongate the length of object. And when I say in compression, when we are applying the force towards the mid, towards its center, and we are trying to just compress the size or reduce the size of object, then we say this object is under compression. In other terms, if I compare it with push and pull, I can say tension is a system where we are applying the pull, and compression is a system where we are applying the push. When we have a bending of any object, then it is under tension and compression both. How? The inner part of rod, that will be under compression because there will be the reduction in area, there will be shortening of the length, but at the outer part it will be under tension because there will be elongation of length. So when we bend a rod, it will be under both tension and compression. Now we will study about the system of forces. Several forces of different magnitude and direction act upon a body, then it is known as system of forces. So this is the classification of system of forces. We can say there are two type of systems, coplanar and non-coplanar. And under coplanar there are three categories: parallel, concurrent, and non-concurrent. Same in non-coplanar, there are parallel, concurrent, and non-concurrent. We will explain all these system of forces one by one. Now first is coplanar concurrent forces. When all the forces lie in the same plane, have different directions, but their lines of action act at one point pass through a single point. We can say the point where the line of action of forces meet is known as point of concurrency. From the name it is clear, coplanar concurrent. Coplanar means when all the forces are acting on a same plane. Like I have given this example, on a hook there are four forces, F2, F1, F2, F3 and F4. It is being applied on a hook and all the forces are same on same plane, right? And no doubt direction is different, but the line of action of all the forces are passing through the same single point, then it is known as coplanar concurrent forces. Let's say the same example in another form. You can compare it like if you are sitting in a room and a number of things are placed on bed. A bed is on the floor only. You just put a chair, a table, and you also sitting on bed, a number of things on a single point, then it is known as coplanar concurrent forces. Plane is single, coplanar means on single plane like floor only. Then we say coplanar parallel forces means when the line of action of all the forces are parallel to each other and they lie in the single plane. For example, several loads acting on a beam. So on this beam a number of forces are acting, F1 to F6, but all the forces are having line of action of forces parallel to each other. We take the same example. Let's say in the room, on the floor a number of persons are standing just parallel to each other, vertically standing, and all the person will having line of action of force parallel to each other on the floor. The floor is a single plane only, so that is why it is known as coplanar parallel forces. Now the third type is coplanar non-concurrent forces. Coplanar non-concurrent forces means when all the forces lie in the same plane, like on the floor, but their line of action do not pass through a single point. We can say like forces on a ladder resting against a wall and a person standing on but not on its center of gravity. Coplanar non-concurrent forces, you can say like a beam is there and a number of forces are there like vertical and inclined, vertical inclined, all the forces are not passing through a single point, so that is why it is not concurrent force. And all the forces, line of action of forces are not parallel to each other, so this is not parallel forces but coplanar non-concurrent forces. Now we will go for the category of non-coplanar concurrent forces. Non-coplanar concurrent forces means when all the forces do not lie in same plane but their line of action pass through a single point. For example, we take the example of a tripod carrying a camera. We see, like I have given this example, a room is there and this is the floor and four walls and roof is there. Now from all the planes, floor, roof and wall, we are exerting the force on a single point. So line of action of force is just meeting at a single point, then it is known as non-coplanar as the forces are in different planes, and concurrent forces as the point of action is same. So if we say in the same xy plane is there and we are applying p1 force, f2 yz plane, p2 force, xz plane, p3 force, and just towards a single point, just like a tripod stand of a camera. Now non-coplanar non-concurrent forces, when all the forces do not lie in the same plane and their line of action do not meet at a single point. For example, forces on a moving bus. When a bus is moving, it is having a forward motion, it is having the weight in downward direction, it is having friction force, it may have an inclined drift or drag and drift is there. So a number of forces acting on a bus, like I'm showing with this diagram. All these forces, f1, f2, f3, f4 forces acting from different planes and their line of action is not even parallel, not concentrating at a single point, so this is the non-coplanar non-concurrent forces. Same like in xyz coordinates, you can see the same. Now non-coplanar parallel forces, when all the forces do not lie in same plane but acting parallel to each other. Same like this f1, f2, they are parallel to each other. Then 7, 8, 5, 6 and 3, 4, they are in different planes but they are parallel to each other. Now we will explain these three terms, that is equilibrium, resultant and equilibrant. Equilibrium means when two or more than two forces act on a body in such a way that the body remains in the same state of rest or uniform motion, then it is known as equilibrium. Now for example, these two persons, they are sitting on a board and its weight is there and it is also applying the weight, but the weight is different, but anyhow they have managed the length about this pivot point, due to which the net force downward is balanced by each other. So we can say both are in equilibrium. Now the resultant means when a body is acting upon a system of forces, then total sum of all the forces is known as resultant. For example, this wagon is there, we are applying 60 Newton in right side and 30 Newton towards right side. So net resultant will be this vectorial sum 60 plus 30, 90 towards right side. We take one more example. Let's say this wagon is there and we are applying 30 Newton right side but 10 Newton left side. Let's say we are taking 30 positive direction and then this left side 10, this will be minus. So this is the net resultant will be 30 minus 10 due to just the direction opposite. If you take this positive, then this will be negative. So net resultant is 20 Newton, but in which direction? Towards 30 Newton, because this is the bigger force. So it will be resultant 20 Newton towards right. Now we will see the equilibrant. When a number of forces are acting on a body which change the state of rest or uniform motion, then an equal and opposite force required to make it in equilibrium is known as equilibrant. For example, this object, if I take the same example, this wagon, it was at rest position. It was at rest position. Now we apply 30 Newton in this side and 10 Newton in this side, and its resultant is 20 Newton on right side. Now to make the wagon into same state of rest as its initial condition, we have to apply the same 20 Newton force but in the direction of left side. So that is known as equilibrant, which is applied just to make it in its initial condition of rest or motion but opposite to the resultant. Now the next is principle of transmissibility. It is very important for numerical. We will use this a number of times. This principle says that when the point of application of force acting on a body is shifted to another point on the same line of action of force without changing the direction, there occur no change in equilibrium. Means, let's say first we take this body and at this point 1 we are applying the force in this direction, and this force is having line of action of force like this, and after some time we are not applying the force at this point, we are applying the force here at second position but on the same line of action of force. Then there will be no net change in the equilibrium of the object. We will see one more example for this. Let's say this bus is there and we are applying F1 force at the front bumper. No doubt there are a number of forces acting on the bus, but when we apply F force at the front bumper, this will have a net resultant motion in any direction. Now in place of applying the same force F at front bumper, we are applying it at rear bumper. Now the line of action of force of F will be horizontally, so on the same line we are applying at rear bumper, then we can say there is no net change in its equilibrium condition. Now the next is the resolution of force. When a number of forces act on a body to keep the body in equilibrium, the resultant of these forces will be the vector sum of all these forces, and process of determining this is known as resolution of forces. For example, this car is there are a number of forces acting like reaction force, and then normal reaction, weight component, and if it is inclined on an inclined surface, friction and other forces will come into account. When we find out the resultant of all of these, then we say we are resolving the forces. Now the very important term for resolving the forces, that is the parallelogram law of forces. We will not explain the method to find out the formula, we have just to remember the formula only. We can say that according to parallelogram theorem, if P is the force in this direction, Q is the force in this direction, and angle in between these two, theta, is there, we can say P is the first force F1, Q is the second force F2, and there is an angle between these two F1 F2 forces, that is theta. Then we can say the resultant force will be in between them and it will make angle alpha with F1, and if we write in formula, we can say resultant will be under root of f1 square, we can say p square, plus f2 square, that is q square, and 2 times f1 f2 cos theta. So remember that theta is the angle between p and q, or we can say f1 and f2. So when we have to find out the resultant, we need to find out the angle between two forces. Then if we want to find the direction of this resultant, then we say tan alpha is equal to f2 sin theta upon f1 plus f2 cos theta. So in this, remember that which one is f1 and which one is f2. The force which is having the angle with the resultant means we are trying to get the angle between r and p, and that is having alpha. So p will be the first force f1 and q will be the second force f2. So remember that f1 is the force with which resultant is having angle which we are calculating. So we will use these formulas directly in numericals. Now we will see one question on this. Two vehicles on opposite side of banks of a canal pull a vessel moving parallel to the other banks by means of two horizontal ropes. The tension in these ropes have been measured to be 20 kilonewton and 24 kilonewton. While the angle between them is 60 degree, find the resultant pull on the vessel and angle between each of the ropes. Solve this numerical. You can watch using this link. Complete detail explanation and calculation is there. We will solve one more numerical on the same parallelogram theorem. You can watch using this link. Complete explanation and calculation is over there. Now we will see the resolution of forces. Let's say an object is there and it is being placed on an inclined surface. Its weight will be downward, but its normal reaction will be perpendicular to the horizontal surface. It will have the friction force and a number of other forces. Now resolution of forces means when we resolve the force, any force, into its horizontal and vertical component, then it is known as resolution of forces. If we want to define, we can say that finding the component of a given force in two given direction is called as a resolution of force. These components will have the same effect on body as given by the single force, right? Let's say this F force was there acting in inclined direction, and we resolve this force in x direction and y direction. So Fx and Fy, these are known as resolution of the force F. Same F, if the force is inclined and it is not having the horizontal and vertical component, even then we can find out the x and y, but these x and y will be perpendicular to each other. You can use this link. I have given more explanation about the resolution of forces. Now next important term is resultant of coplanar concurrent forces. Resultant of coplanar concurrent forces, when we have to calculate, it is having few steps how to calculate. So first step is that find the component of each force in the given system in two mutually perpendicular x and y direction. Make the algebraic sum of the components in each direction. Let's say we can assume summation of fx and summation of fy. Then obtain the resultant both in magnitude and direction by combining the two components, summation of fx and summation of fy, and we can say the resultant will be this formula. Means let's say this r was the resultant and we are having x and y two components. We can say the net resultant will be under root of rx square, x component square, plus f ry vertical component square. This is the method to find out the direction. Tan theta will be ry upon rx, or in term of forces we can say it will be summation of fy upon summation of fx, and here also it will be summation of fx square plus summation of fy square if we are not having the value of resultant. I have explained this resultant of coplanar concurrent forces more in this video. You can watch and understand this. Resultant of coplanar concurrent forces, a practical problem is there. It is very interesting question. Do watch this using this link and you will have more knowledge about the same topic, resultant of coplanar concurrent forces. Next is triangle law of forces. Triangle law of forces says that if two forces act simultaneously on a body and they are represented by sides of a triangle taken in a order, the resultant is represented by the closing side of triangle taken in opposite direction. So let's say A is the force acting in this direction, B is the force acting in this direction, and we are able to define or consider the force A and B as the two sides of triangle, then the resultant will be the closing side taken in opposite direction. We take this one more example. If I say this ABC, the forces are there. Now you can very easily say which one is the resultant. Yes, it is the force C. Can I say the force A is the resultant? No. Why? Because B and C, they are not having the continuous direction. They are not represented by the two sides of triangle in order. So they are having direction not in a order. So that is why these are not the resultant. You can watch this video to get more explanation about the triangle law of forces. Now next is Polygon law of forces. If a number of concurrent forces acting simultaneously on a body are represented in magnitude and direction by the sides of a polygon taken in a order, then the resultant is represented in magnitude and direction by the closing side of polygon taken in opposite order. For example, there are the forces like A, B, C, D, then the resultant will be the closing side in the same opposite direction. It is just similar to the triangle law of forces. Let's say in our body, these are the forces acting like F1, F2, F3, F4, and we have to just take the same line of action of forces by making the few sides of a polygon. Then we can find out the closing side. I have explained it more in this video. You can go for this video just to get knowledge about polygon law of forces. Now the next term is Lami's theorem. Lami's theorem says that if a body is in equilibrium under the action of three forces, then each force is proportional to the sine of the angle between the forces. For example, there are the forces A in this direction, B and C, and the angle between A and B is gamma, A and C is beta, and B and C is alpha. So the Lami's theorem says that the force A divided by sine of opposite angle, that will be alpha, force B sine of opposite angle, that will be beta, and C sine of opposite angle, that is gamma. So this is known as Lami's theorem. On the basis of Lami's theorem, they design this type of playing games in kids section. So they calculate what should be the length here, what the weight it can carry, what should be the angle between ropes and this. So everything, all the calculations they do using Lami's theorem. And same like this, we are applying the same Lami's theorem, and we get to know all the values for designing of this structure. And you can use this link just to get more knowledge about Lami's theorem. Now we will solve this question on the basis of Lami's theorem. Again, I have solved this using this link. You can get the solution and try to understand more about the Lami's theorem. One more problem on Lami's theorem, use this link. Now we will discuss about the free body diagram. For analyzing a structure, the portion is drawn separately, showing the applied force, self-weight, reaction at the point of contact with other bodies. The resulting diagram is known as free body diagram. For example, this cart is being applied by a force P in this direction, making an angle 30 degree with the horizontal. This cart is having a weight 15 kg downward. Now if we consider and we want to find out the resultant or whatever the required things are there, it seems to be very difficult. So what we do, we will make the simple diagram. Like, we have no need to consider this card, we just make a point and normal reaction, weight, and the applied force. Then we can resolve the force into its component, and very easily we can apply the equilibrium or the required other method, and then we can find out the required values. Same like this person is on an inclined surface, it will also have a number of components. Now this seems to be very complex thing how to find out, but it will be very easy when we draw the free body diagram just like this. Now we can find out all the forces, friction, normal reaction, weight, or whatever the required value is there. Now you can refer this YouTube link, and you can get more information about free body diagram, how to draw, what are the steps. I have explained everything in this video with an example. Now here is one numerical just based on the free body diagram and whatever the topics we have covered till now. You can go to this link, and I have explained everything with the calculation for this numerical. Now the next term is moment of forces. We will see what is moment of forces. Let's say this cat is resting on a rod which is having d distance from this pivot point, and it is having weight in downward direction. So the direction of weight about this pivot point, that is having a perpendicular distance. So the moment of force is the force multiplied by the perpendicular distance, that is known as moment of force. We can define it as moment of force about a point is the turning tendency of a force about that point. It measured by the product of force and the perpendicular distance of line of action of force. So mathematically we can say moment is equal to F into D, and its units are Newton meter. This is the example of explaining the moment of force. If we have to close or open a door, it is being hinged at these points. If we apply the force at d1 distance or we apply the force at d2 distance, there will be variation in force. At d2 distance more force is required. Why? There is a particular value to close this door or open this door. Now that is the required value, but when we apply the force, it is get multiplied by the distance, so it becomes the turning tendency, that is moment. So if we apply the force at handle, we'll have more distance, so less force is required. At if we apply the force at mid, so less distance, so more force is required. We can take one more example. Let's say we have to use a spanner to open a nut or to close a nut. If the length of spanner is more, then we have to apply less force. Why? Because this is the pivot point and the force applied in this direction will be multiplied by the distance, perpendicular distance, then it becomes the turning tendency and it becomes the moment. So that is why less moment is required if length of spanner is more. And now you can use this link to get more knowledge for the moment of force. We have solved the numerical, same YouTube link you can follow and get actual numerical problem and solution on the same moment of force. Now the next is Varigon's law. Varigon's theorem state that the moment of force of resultant R about the same point O will be equal to sum of the moment of force of P force about O and moment of force of Q force about the same O point. Now the next is equilibrium. We have few conditions of equilibrium. Let's say the applied force system is coplanar concurrent force system like this. Then we say summation of fx will be 0, summation of fy will be 0. We apply this condition of equilibrium a number of times. Here we only use the forces, we never use moment of force. Why? Because all the forces are passing from the same point, so there is no perpendicular distance between the line of action of force and the point and the pivot point, so it will not have any moment of force. But when the condition is coplanar non-concurrent forces, then the equation will be summation of fx 0, summation of fy 0 and moment of force 0. So this is the case, coplanar non-concurrent forces and moment of force will act here. We apply these two equations just to solve a number of complex force systems. This is the question just based on all the theorems which we have covered till now, and I have explained and solved this numerical. Using this link you can follow and you can understand. Same one other complex problem is there and you can use this channel. This is the channel created for this subject engineering mechanics, and using this link you can follow the channel and you can have all the topics explained over there.